Welcome to our last formal class. It's the 6th week, and we're going to draw 2 drawings today. And this is the one that we're looking at right now is the second one. So this one is the first. I hope everyone's got it. If you don't have the printout, then it's kind of, I picked this one a bit later. I think it's important to kind of learn a little bit of a hand anatomy, because not only it is interesting, but it'll make it easier to draw hands in the future. So we're gonna draw it upside down, just because it's easier to see what's going on, I think, in my opinion. It looks like we are looking at our own set of fingers, and maybe it will help you with the homework. So we're not going to do any shading today. This is just going to be the outlines, just kind of the anatomy, so we know how to structure a hand. So let's start. Oh, I've already been doing it earlier. So there's a few things that are important. Which I've emailed as points today. And so I'm going to talk about those points, but it's actually quite useful to have these handy if you do have them in front of you, or just in the future anyway. So my tools today is, for this exercise, this is just going to be 3H, maybe a B, because we're not going to do any shading. So what we can do, I'm not going to do a grid. I'm just going to use my printout as a reference, and hope it's going to work out for me. So I'm going to start with the knuckle. So we've got to draw 5 fingers. My printout is quite dark, I can't really see properly, but maybe I'll manage to figure it out. We're gonna make sure we have we follow the principles that we have been learning in the past. So measure all the relationships between the features. So what's the angle between these 2 fingers? It's quite steep. Like that. I've decided to do this because the second drawing is not going to be so tricky to finish in 90 minutes, and this side of the hand is equally important. Well, everything is important in human anatomy, but I thought we have an opportunity today to do these 2 drawings, so why not? So what I want to say is, we can also use our own hand as a reference to this exercise. If you don't have a printout, it's also quite, it might be even easier to draw your own hand in front of you as opposed to use that printout. What I wanted to say is that fingers are built out of 3 bones, 3 phalanges. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1. And if you bend your fingers, you can see clearly how it is. Apart from the knuckle bends only half ways. So when we're drawing it, we have to be considerate of that fact. At the beginning, it's not so important because we're just establishing kind of proportions. So we're going to get into it a bit later. So I'm just gonna try to kind of roughly estimate the shape of the palm. Each finger points in the different directions. They are not parallel. Then as soon as I've got this relationships kind of established, I'll explain a little bit more in more detail. So the palm of the hand, this area, is divided into directions into by the border on the designated by the middle finger. So if you split your palm in half, this side of the palm goes this way, this direction. You can see this one goes opposite direction, kind of. So when we're shading it, we know exactly which way it's supposed to go. And usually when the light falls, it kind of stops in the middle. So that's one important thing. Another thing is that the knuckles here between the phalanges and metacarpal bone, it goes as a kind of shallow or flat curve. So if we draw circles, the middle of them should form a curve, and that's so sometimes when we are not observing properly, we may miss some of this, and then the hand looks like it might be broken. So there is some theories that we should always stick to, apart from just observation. There are some tutors that say observation won't get you anywhere, but I disagree. I think observation goes in hand with knowledge of the anatomy, because like we said last time, or many times even, every hand is different, every angle is different. There's no tool that we can draw the same in different situations. And we could do it as an exercise, but not as a general rule. Another arch is these knuckles between the first and second bones, and they form a bit more of a curve like that, a bit more of a deeper curve. So we have to bear in mind when we're drawing that these form a curve. None of them just falls outside of the line, otherwise it might also look like the fingers are broken. So we've got a joint, a bone, and a joint. I actually think that anatomy, when we're learning anatomy for artists, the hand is probably one of the more important. It's more difficult. People are scared to draw hands. It's probably because hands are so much full of detail. And it's easy to skip it when we're focusing on the entire body. But actually, if you want to show off your skills, draw the hands. And this is actually the treatment that artists do. They just want to show their skill, so they draw something tricky, and just one thing, and then they leave the rest. They can kind of show off and say, "You see, I can draw, but I just decided not to," which is, I think, a sign of courage and decision and character, all good things. So the middle finger is the longest. Need to bear that in mind, and that first bone, first phalange, is the longest. What we have to also be aware is that these knuckles, so they are spears, and their axes need to be parallel to each other. If they are not parallel, again, it looks like they are broken, the fingers are broken. So this part of the class, this is just going to be a quick exercise to show you that the anatomy of hand, but also not to be scared of drawing it, more like embrace it, go for it if you have an opportunity. And another thing is that the nail goes into a different direction. So the bone would go that way while the nail would go up. So just bear in mind when you're drawing. You can't really see on my printout, but you will probably see on your own finger. And then cross-reference everything. So make sure that the distance, the negative spaces between the small finger and the ring finger, is the negative space correct proportions, or mine looks a bit wide, but maybe it's okay. So in my document, the PDF that I sent today, I showed some laws that relate to anatomy of fingers. Like, for example, that if the printout doesn't show, but if you put it flat on the page, you can see that this one, the index finger is supposed to end at the bottom of the nail, while the little finger is supposed to finish in the middle of that joint. These are all interesting facts, but as you can see on the printout, it's because it's a different angle, so it doesn't work. If you don't finish this exercise here, because we're going to move on to the main subject of tonight, then please have a look at it at home. It will definitely be helpful. So so if we imagine that these are spheres, something that would help us with the anatomy, the bit of jointed, the bit of skin here, parallel lines form a tendon. So it's an important aspect of the hand anatomy, which helps us, and you can see kind of on my hand, it's just in the middle. Yeah, those lines go directly across like pipes. And then if you can see, the palm of the hand is here, while the thumb sticks out a little bit. So it's not part of the main body. You can see it. So this is a quick exercise for today. I'm going to leave it. Maybe I'll wait a little bit so you guys can finish. Just making sure that you've got all the proportions correct. The thickness of the fingers, the shape of the nails. What's interesting about the anatomy of the hand is the fingers are following the golden ratio rule, which means if you divide them into sections, let's say one section, let me just see if I can get it right. The proportions between this bone, the second phalange, to the third phalange is the same as these two together to the whole finger, and then it's the same. I think it's the whole finger to the with the whole metacarpal bone, as in the whole palm of the hand. I need to look into it, but it's fascinating how human body is built following the golden ratio, and I think Leonardo has a manual about this. Right, I'm going to leave it, this part of the exercise, and move on to this. And let's try to make this a finished piece for today. Right. So whoever hasn't finished, it's a great idea to finish it later. Right. I just noticed that it's probably easier for everyone if we do the grid. So let's do it. Divide the drawing into half. Split it into fours. And then split it into the other areas also halfway. the tighter the grid, it might be the easier to copy. Because it's then becoming a bit like paint by numbers, which is helpful, I guess. Next stage. Right, so we've got a grid of 16. So we remember that we need to follow the proportions of the grid on our print or on our page. I sent homework to my students in the school, like I do almost every week. I try every week, and they were drawing fingers. We found it incredibly difficult. I think only one person sent the drawing. So you guys who attended the school, please send your please send your work just as a sign of encouragement for other students. Okay, I'm not sure if these are. Right. It's going to start with the left, with the thumb. Just quickly try to establish the shape first and then cross-reference. This part of creating the drawing always takes a long time, and I think I probably don't have enough patience to stick to correct proportions of the grid. I'd rather just go for it and then and fix it as I go if it needs fixing. So what we've learned so far is that the fingers, people who have medical knowledge, you probably would have known this for a long time, but we don't, as creatives. And you can see how the finger actually does split in 3 parts. And this will help us now establish the correct anatomy on the drawing. Have a look. The relationship here, the angle. That's it. I find actually building a body on paper easier when you're measuring relationship between each feature, as opposed to doing it with a grid. Grid is helpful a little bit, but then so now we can see that how we draw this curve. So neither of these negative spaces dig in. So we need to make sure it says a nice continuous line. this line was to go down, it would have probably, yes, it would have sliced the thumb out. As you can see, the laws of the anatomy kind of are helpful now. What's the angle of this line here? Have a look at the space between the index finger and the thumb, the negative space, because I've done it. I've not done it correct, so I need to fix it. Then if we were to move this one all the way down, it's this angle. I think if we use these lines to help us establish relationships, they also help with the drawing, because it's like we're constructing the shape. We have to make sure that the proportion between fingers and the palm of the hand is correct. So these fingers, you can see they are all bent. And we can clearly see where the joints are. So all the laws of anatomy here, well, some of them are definitely useful, but in terms of the knowledge of comparing how long each finger is in comparison to in relationship to the another one is a little bit useless right now because they're all bent in different weird angle. The lines on the palm are a good reference point to help us establish whether our proportions are correct. So we have to remember our facts from the quick anatomy refresh, so that the joint's a little bit thicker than so fingers swell up slightly in the joints. They're not like straight like sausages. That's because the joints kind of, the phalanges just swell up towards the end and they join here on these, and that's why fingers swell up at the end towards the middle, and same here as well. That's why you can make them look a bit like balls, like spheres, and then they are joined a bit thinner to the sides. So here as well, slightly bit fatter in the middle. So please pay attention to proportions. This is quite a tricky angle, and it'd be great if this part of the lesson was completed correctly. And to be honest, whenever I see your homework, the construction, the proportions most of the times is spot on. So thank you for paying attention to that. It is important. This is more important than shading, I would say. So if you guys want to see me to slow down, then send a text, send a message on the chat. Measure all the relationships between, like if you were to make this line longer, where would it finish? This would finish quite nicely at the top of this finger, which is right here below the nail. What's the distance? What's the measurement of this area here? And then if we were to make this line longer, where would this end? That's to that finger, index finger. The drawings that I keep seeing on the Facebook group, they are really beautiful. Thanks for all the hard work. It's great to see how your styles develop over the last 6 weeks. I think the only thing that I'd like to say is carry on. If you feel comfortable, if you're having fun doing it, which I hope you are. And in regards to effects of the work or talent, what's more important, talent or hard work? I mean, it's probably not brand new information, but obviously it's work. And I think the talent is the joy found in the work that we do. And then if it's making, for example, it makes me really happy when I can paint or draw. I often am behind with lots of other things on the account of painting. And especially today, in today's world, in the olden days, like you're familiar with Parisian salons, everything had to be done in such a appropriate form, or you wouldn't exist as a painter. And that's why it was really hard in the olden days. Artists were elite because they had to follow those rigid rules or they wouldn't count at all. And today, I think the more original you are, the more unique approach you show your character, the better. Sometimes people abuse that, and I still think the work I see is no comment. But generally speaking, today's world encourages originality and character and individuality. So whatever tool you're using, you feel comfortable with it, carry on with that, stick with it. Maybe try something else as an experiment. Maybe you'd like that as well. I always measure whether I'm correct. I prefer these, like I said, than the grid. So I've just measured how tall my thumb is here, and it goes to the crease here. So yeah. So once I think that my hand is correct proportions, I might start filling it in. The features of this hand here from the drawing are very visible. We can see it quite clearly, and that's what makes it easier, because sometimes even if we were to draw our own hands, the light and shadow might not be so visible. And we can also follow the strokes, the direction of the strokes, which are indicated already on the drawing that we are copying. I'm just talking to Saltaire Art Festival, which is happening at the end of May. So we're doing two events. One is definitely the painting. It's a full day event, painting landscape. It's a day retreat. But the other one, I'm hoping that I'll be able to do a live drawing class, not at Nordish, because they're quite small, unless we can knock the wall down, but I don't think we can yet. maybe next year. But yes, if you're guys interested, keep your eyes out, because I really hope I'm able to do this. And let's put the newly learned skill to test. You guys in America or a bit further afield, I can supply reference for free. It would be great to do like a live drawing Zoom, but I'm not sure whether that would, but I guess it is possible to do a video of somebody as they're sitting and moving, breathing, eating, drinking, normal challenges of a live drawing session. I'm still, at this stage, I'm still quite crudely marking the position of all features. But as soon as I'm happy with them, then I can start adding more decisive lines and shading. This is again, we're trying to make the drawing interesting. So you have to decide how we're going to treat the outline stroke, whether it's going to be thick and blunt, or is it going to be sharp and singular. And we're following it, when we are filling it in, we're following the curve. So each finger is as a cylinder. So today is the last formal class where nobody's talking to me. I hope. I hope you can unmute yourselves next week and talk to me, tell me something, whatever you want to tell me. I hope it's going to be good. Maybe I'll even bring a glass of wine, although wine tends to distract me from drawing. It's funny, artists, they normally are, you know, when you think of a stereotypical artist, You probably have that wine bottle in their hand. Wine for me kind of deceives the object. So I might have one glass just for fun next week. And I have invited my students from school, so I do hope that they will join, and it'll be nice to just. They're all very nice, equally like you. And I haven't figured out the subject yet, but I'm hoping that to find something that we can definitely show off to our friends and family when we finish. I hope that it's going to be something that will accommodate all the skills that we've learned, and also not too difficult, and something that we can show. I'm going to cover that side of the hand because I don't want to smudge it when I'm focusing on shading the thumb. I don't know whether I already mentioned this, but I was trying to find online drawing courses on YouTube, and it's very hard to find something quality because we're not looking for a quick fix. We're not looking for doodling tutorial. We're actually looking for some quality lessons, and there isn't many at all. Those that there are have like 900,000 views from last year, maybe less. So these videos will be available for you guys to go back to if you want. Change my pencil back to something softer to make it a bit more prominent. So those people who are local may want to attend Salter Art Festival, not necessarily even the events, but it's worth visiting altogether. I'm not sure what form it's going to take this year. Salter Art School is a feature. So just to say hello. I think my house might be open. I need to inquire about that properly. So I'll have my paintings up on display. So there is no homework tonight, apart from finishing this, unless if you have finished and draw another hand. And probably hands are one of these objects that test your skill. So you want to get better at live drawing, draw some hands or feet. Don't forget about squinting skill, squinting your eyes, just to determine where the light and shadow is. Having the versatile strokes is always what I encourage. Whatever tool you're using, whatever your style is, whether you are drawing more linear, whether your style is more soft, try to be as versatile as you can in your array of style. Try to make the outline stroke sharper or softer. I might even have an event, not event, but like open, what would you call it? Open door? Open doors where people can just come in and have a look inside the school during the festival. So I've had a couple of inquiries. People are interested in seeing the space, and I think that would be quite nice. So if you guys are around, come and say hello. Let's see how tall you are. It's something that you can't see. So as you can see, like the fingers are made of spheres. And a skilled drawing artist would make these spheres, would draw it with really soft and tight way that you can't really see, but you can see that it's round. Rubber is a great tool for adding the sharp outlines. Yeah, it's a good idea maybe if you're stuck, if you can't see properly which way the pencil should go, maybe have a look at your own palm. So if it goes up, that's the direction that the pencil should go. The middle line, then again, and then again. So we're applying the darkness with layers. If we are too fast, too dark, too soon, then it looks like a hole. In one aspect, these drawing classes online are much better value than the school. I know the school has, the real school, when you attend a class, there's different kind of value. There's social aspect and interaction with humans, which is so important. But in terms of learning to draw, this probably beats it, because you are looking at the drawing appearing in front of your eyes. You can see how a professional holds the pencil, how to build. So it's like copying an artist. While at the school, I don't draw. I help. I draw people's drawings, which is true. I hope it is appreciated. But I don't draw in front of people. I don't do my own drawings. So I need to plan how to finish this drawing in 20 minutes. I can see I don't think I'm going to have time to finish it during while the video is recorded. So I'm going to have to make sure it is going to look like it's finished. It's like this is how I planned it. So I think my aim is to add enough value into these two fingers and a bit of the palm. That's my aim. And then I'm going to finish it tomorrow morning. I probably have mentioned this last week, but I seem to have a knack for repeating myself, but I think it's a good way to learn. That I can see, I can distinguish good artists and excellent artists. Good artist is somebody who can draw whatever they see or whatever subject in the correct way. That's a good artist. But an excellent artist adds their own perspective. And the more interesting it is, the better the drawing. So your perspective is your character, the message you're trying to convey. Sometimes there is no message, obviously. If we're learning, we're learning. But if we do want to say something, if you want to provoke somebody to think about something, then we add our own character to it. These are the drawings that people remember. This is the piece of art that people remember. It stuck in mind. So if you want to be a memorable artist, have a think of the message you want to say. It doesn't need to be anything profound. It could be just a different way to finish a drawing. Your own perspective, how you see, how you want it to be drawn. Nobody actually taught me that. When I was at school, I used to admire lots of painters and artists, but they were all teaching me to do it according to their vision. They didn't explain what was their vision. So a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of tears. I think that's a problem with some universities. People who teach have never really left the academic environment, and they don't really know what's going on in the real world. That's what I've noticed in the design industry, that people are not the professors are not in touch with the reality the market demands. And a lot of them just want to stroke their own egos with the help of students. Some of them are scared of students becoming better than them. So don't forget to follow the curve of the body, curve of the finger. And use the eraser in a positive way, as in show the highlights. So I'm going to upgrade my pencil for something softer, like behind 5B. Yeah, and regarding developing your own style, there is no shortcut regarding inventing your own style. I think it comes out naturally as you draw, as you do whatever, as you paint. You just start preferring doing it in certain ways, and that's becoming your style. I don't actually, I think if you're not sure whether you have a style or not, I think it's best to kind of just keep on drawing without any pressure. Keep on creating. think probably squinting is a skill that's more useful towards the end when you're working on shading and contrast. So 3 elements that make a drawing complete is correct construction, correct proportions and relationship between each feature, and contrast, and there was something else. Sometimes also it's useful to move that drawing a little bit further away from your eyes so that you can see the contrast and see whether you're happy with it going so far. It's a very useful trick. Step away from it. Step away from the artwork. I'm just in the middle of inquiring about an exhibition in London. This is what it came to during the pandemic. I'm hoping that it's going to be possible. Well, I'll make sure it is possible. Sometime at the end of September. So I'm using my pencil B and 5B on rotation, depending on what I want to achieve. Have a look at the fingers and the nails, and their shape, how they're built. How big are they? Who would have thought hands are so time consuming to draw? Every time if I'm adding shading, I'm always following the curve. So it's either hatching this way or on the opposite way, the 90 degrees way. We've got 5 minutes. I can't believe it has flown today. I think I was talking too much. If we're using rubber, it also has to follow the curve of the lines. I think eraser actually is a useful tool right here, just for the wrinkles, the creases. Using eraser altogether adds depth and interest. And I think we should definitely embrace that tool, not in a taking away from the drawing, but adding to the drawing. Have a look at your drawings, have a look at whether you've got enough contrast going on, whether your outline stroke is versatile enough, whether you have a decision in there. Your character, does it show your character? Does it show your own mark? So mine looks almost finished. I hope I will see your drawings on Facebook group. I really always appreciate it. I don't get notifications about when people post, and I don't really go on Facebook otherwise, so that's why I'm sometimes a bit late to the game. But I always appreciate it. One last look, one last squint, one last wink. I'm happy with my drawing so far, but I am gonna add a little bit more depth to it tomorrow before I post it. I hope you are guys happy with your drawings. I really look forward to seeing them at some point this week. You guys carry on. I hope you enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you for wine drawing class next week. Okay? I accept beer.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. And have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.